Government of India and RBI that provides the adjustment of liquidity going to held in the market, that is called as liquidity adjustment facility. So it was under certain surplus condition led to call money rate as well as the weighted average call rate, which we studied already. Weighted average call rate, WACR, and call rate. So जब call rate is greater than repo rate, there is liquidity deficit. So RBI pumps money when there is call rate less than repo rate, then there is liquidity surplus and RBI sucks the money, है ना? आप इसे ध्यान रखेंगे, very important. So the operating target of monetary policy to trade below the reverse repo rate and lower bound to the LAF facility. Now there has been a shrinkage in the interbank trading activity in December 2021. Now call rate rises when there is interbank trading like SBI, IDBI, Axis Bank and IndusInd. They are trading in collaterally same way with each other, but when they are not trading with each other, that takes the money back from the market and leads to decline in the call rate. Now exactly what happens in December 2021, there was decline in the call rate and interbank trading activity. So it was due to the longer term money market instruments such as T-bills. ऐसा क्यों हो रहा था फ्रेंड्स? It is a reduction in treasury bills, certificate of deposits and the commercial papers. Okay, now generally traded above the reverse repo rate during the year. Remember it for your mains and prelims also. Development in GSEC market, we saw GSAP and GSAP 2.0 as well as US Federal Open Market Committee, which were decision held on 10-year GSEC decision. So 10 years decision on GSEC was held by US Fed, and the announcement phases to increase the quantum of VRRR, that is variable reverse repo rate operation, again for the banking, rose at a higher level, and it held these sentiments also led to more hardening than the yields. So market sentiments, again I said that market works on the sentiments of the people who think to invest, who want to purchase certain things. When they feel happy, they feel more consumptive. When they are in bad mood, then there is no such commerce in the market. So it depends on the sentiments of the people. Now banking sector, both gross non-performing advances GNPA and non-performing net NPA GNPA and NNPA net non-performing assets for the public sector banks seem to be declined since 2018 and 2019, although it shows a data of exaggerated way because NNPA was on quite high scenario in the COVID scenario, but it declined in the post-COVID scenario. So non-performing assets were declining due to the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code plus SARFAISI Act, Securitization and Restructuring of Financial Assets Act. Now, in the various cases, we saw dispensation, moratoriums and restructure standard advances RSA over the stressed advances ratio, which again caters the PSBs increased during the same period. Overall, the banking system appears to have weathered the pandemic shock well, even there is some lagging impact still in the pipeline. What is the conclusion? The banking sectors, by control of RBI and this accommodative measures, caters the pandemic very well. It also bring the insolvency sectors down. It also held the MSMEs at a good level, and still there is certain things which are under problem which will be solved in near future. Now capital to risk weightage asset ratio. What is CRAR? That is total risk weightage. It is the ratio of capital at risk to the total capital assets into 100. So it continues to improve since 2015 and 16, and capital risk weightage ratio of scheduled commercial bank increased on account of its improvement for both public as well as private sector bank. यानी कि risk weightage ratio reduce क्यों कर रहा है friends? Due to recovery of bad loans, recovery of NPAs and recovery of various demand deposits, various securities which were quite improving. So improvement in the CRAR levels of PSB was due to capital infusion by the government. So RBI ने क्या किया? More and more capital infused, raising from the market, while private sector banks tapped capital from the market sources. So capital infused किया गया public sector bank के द्वारा, but the private sectors was again taking back the capital, and it has helped the public sector and private sector banks maintaining the capital conservation buffer CCB over 2.5%. So CCB 2.5 रहेगा तो bank will survive in a well position and banks are healthy. Now banking sector, both gross non-performing advances ratio and NNPA ratio of scheduled commercial banks as well as public sector banks seem to decline, and riding the dispensation restructured standard advances ratio in the stressed advancing ratio of scheduled commercial bank increased during the pandemic period. So overall banking system appears to have weathered by the pandemic shock well, even if there is some lagged impact on the pipeline. So हम इस ग्राफ में देखते हैं how GNPA and NNPA are rising on a good mode. So GNPA rose to 11.2% in a year 2016 and 17, and again the ratio was 6.9 in terms of the NNPA ratio. NNPA. National Asset Reconstruction Company Limited (NARCL) and Indian Debt Resolution Company Limited (INDRCL). What it provided that there is a need for such reform continuously in the market, and despite the various available resolution mechanisms such as insolvency and bankruptcy code, SARFAESI Act, DRT, etc. have proved to be useful to a certain extent. Large shock legacy of NPA are yet to be resolved. While there are 28 asset reconstruction companies existing in India, due to limited capitalization and low recoveries from the existing portfolio, still they are doing better for acquiring only smaller value loans. Remember, these portfolios are low because of smaller value of loans, and Union Budget 2021-22 announced the high level of provisioning by public sector banks in their stressed assets calls for ensuring the clean up bank books. Now formation, how the asset reconstruction company ARC and AMC were doing the formation in terms of balancing the market scenario. So there was existing stressed debt management with the management of the alternative investment fund assets of the AIF. So AIF assets were managed, And in line with this vision, two entities, that is National Asset Reconstruction Company Limited (NARCL) and India Debt Resolution Company Limited have been formed. Now NARCL was incorporated on 7 July 2021 and has received a certificate of registration from the RBI to commence the business of an ARC on 4th October of 2021. Now it will majorly be owned by public sector banks and is sponsored by Canara Bank. Remember this fact, it's a fodder. So किसके द्वारा ये resolution किया गया है? Canara Bank के द्वारा, and shareholding up to 12%. Now functions, the NARCL would be capitalized through a combination of equity and debt from various banks and will have a finite life of 5 years. It covers all commercial banks including payment banks, small financial banks, regional rural banks and foreign branches in India, local area banks and cooperative banks, friends, in all states and union territories. So DICGC covers the registered banks insured immediately as the automatically banking is licensed issued to it. Now the deposit insurance premium is compulsory for all insured banks and is paid by the bank to DICGC, is not recovered from the depositors. Remember this data for your mains point of view. Now the deposit insurance covered has been raised gradually from 1993 to 2022. So Deposit Insurance Credit Guarantee Corporation announcement in the Union Budget of 21 that deposit insurance cover was from 1 lakh to rupees 5 lakh per depositor per bank, यानी कि 1 लाख per bank per depositor to 5 lakh per depositor per bank तक इसे लिया गया था. However, the continuing concern even the insured amount was that various restrictions was made such as the moratorium are imposed on the bank by RBI. So RBI ने क्या किया है? Moratorium provide किया है by RBI. Okay. So this continues due to serious difficulties and where extents of insured values depositors insurance being in place. Now the Deposit Insurance and Credit Guarantee Corporation Amendment Act 2021 was enacted. Remember this important fact for your prelims as well as mains point of view. DICGC Act of 2021 to ensure the depositors values and the materials that they carry.